Can hear you. Hold on.
I didn't hear anything at the moment.
Okay, I can hear you now.
I still cannot hear you, Ayya.
Can't. My volume is.
Okay. Now I can hear you. Thank you so much.
I had to switch rooms because of a storm.
Oh, it looks like sunshine out there, but storm, right?
Storm, yeah.
Is it cold?
No, not cold.
Mm.
Hot.
Ayya, may I know, like when you're coming for Katina, so your luggage weight allowable? How many?
Uh,
How when you like leave back to your country?
I'm in my country, this is my country.
Oh, sorry, Cuba.
Oh,
Like,
when I go to Cuba, how many I can take?
and I should ask, like, from here, from AB back to your monasteries, like
Oh,
the carriage allowed to
uh,
check in how many kg?
I think one or two.
Oh, there's no check-in luggage.
I'm not taking any, but I'm
Oh,
taking I'm taking one that folds so I can bring back those katina and the
uh,
dime that I had to leave. But I think have one with me in the airplane and one I can check in.
okay. So the check-in one, how many pounds you can check in? The weight?
50.
Okay. Good to know.
I may have two, but I don't have two suitcases. So
Okay. Yes, because I remember you still have your gifts here, having bring back. Yes. Next we will need to bring together. Right. Okay. Mm. Shall we wait for some more friends? Another 3 minutes to go.
hello, everybody.
Aye, do you want to try to share your screen and see does it work?
Okay. Share my screen. Share. Where is my screen? Why doesn't Mangala Sutta show up? My email is showing. I don't want to show my email.
So perhaps need to open the Mangala Sutta first and then click share. Then we'll go specifically that file only.
Documents, screens. Let me try again.
Okay.
Share desktop. There, Mangala Sutta.
Haven't come yet. Didn't see. Coming. Okay. Yeah, we can see. Thank you, Ayya.
Okay.
So firstly, I think it's almost time now. Let me introduce Ayya first. So, a newcomer for this afternoon session. So today we have respectfully invite Ayya Marajina to lead us for this afternoon program, Sutta study. So I would like to give a brief introduction for Ayya. So Ayya Marajina Bhikkhuni's life began in 2012 with Upasampada at Aranya Bodhi Hermitage and the abundant, exalted, and immeasurable compassion of abbess and preceptor Ayattathaluka Bhikkhuni Mahatheri. After tiring in battle with Mara, Ayya turned to Metta Bhavana and the Manual of Insight by the Master and Very Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. Ayya now teaches Dhamma, Vinaya, and Bhavana in English and Spanish in North Florida, Cuba, and in Spanish internationally via Google Meet. We are very deeply grateful and honored for having Ayya to spend her precious time with us this afternoon. Everyone, please join me. We respectfully and kindly welcome Ayya Marajina to lead us. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Ayya, please.
Thank you very much, Ayya. So hello, everybody. I'm seeing everyone from this morning, which is good. Good sign. Nobody abandoned me. So we can continue. Now, before we start, let me just say there's a storm outside here. And if I cut out, it's because the Wi-Fi's gone. So please bear with me for a few minutes and I will connect to the battery and then we can resume the plan. So let's begin by paying our respects to our teacher, showing our gratitude for these teachings. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang samasami. Namaste. All right, so hello everyone. We're going to look at the Mangala Sutta today, and I'm going to intersperse it a little bit with some other things. So I'll share my screen, and I'm going to be reading from this. I don't know if you see the Bhavana Vandana, which is the one that I'm familiar with chanting. But I will share the screen with the one from Access to Insight. So begin. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Sublime One was living near Savatthi at Jeta's Grove in the park of Anathapindika. Then in the middle of the night, a certain deity of astounding beauty, lighting up the entire Jeta's Grove, approached the Sublime One. Drawing near, she paid homage to the Sublime One and stood to one side. Standing thus, the deity addressed the Sublime One in verse. Many deities and humans have pondered on blessings, desiring their well-being. Tell me the supreme blessing. So we've all heard the saying that life doesn't come with an instruction book, and everybody's looking for life's little instruction book. Well, when I first came across the Mahamangala Sutta, it was sort of a revelation because these were things that I can see. We can all see these situations or family situations, social situations, professional situations. We all see these. We're in the midst of these, and we see how there are some people that um, are very blessed with their work, with their family life, with their mental and physical capacities, and there are others that are not so blessed. So what was so revealing to me is that one can see, one can experience the friendship of certain people when they seem to come near. There's just something that's different about them. In monasteries, there are many devotees that sort of exude this um, blessedness to to not stray from the word. And so this sutta struck me as, well, a teaching that's very practical. And if one would like to aspire to these blessed states, then here's the instruction. And of course it begins with the very simple one, don't associate with fools. Yeah. And just I think yesterday, someone in a class that I was teaching asked me about what to do with a very difficult person. And this came to mind immediately. You know, the Buddha says, avoid, avoid difficult persons. Don't associate with them. Associate with the wise and honor those who are worthy of honor. This is the greatest blessing. So we pick and choose, you know, and we have to. We have to pick and choose so that we can prioritize our practice in life. And I often tell the story of my mom's neighbor, Debbie. And Debbie was a person that if she caught you outside, she would talk your ear off for hours. Not about anything, not about any one thing, actually. Not about anything, about many, many, many things. Just sort of jumping from one topic to the other. And so we all learned that if we were visiting my mother, this is about 30 years ago, I was in lay life. If we were visiting my mother, and Debbie was out in the yard, we would quickly park the car and rush into the house and maybe wave, "Hello, Debbie," and that's it. Because if she caught you, it would be a very long time before she let you go. This is associating with the foolish. And especially once you know what's going to happen, then it's good to avoid. And it keeps your mental stability for meditation, for your own practice. And here's the verse that really spoke to me. To reside in a suitable locality, to have done meritorious actions in the past, and to set oneself in the right course. This is the greatest blessing. So here we come across with karma, with our action. We are the owners of our actions. We're heirs of our actions. We're born of our actions. We're related to our actions. Um, whatever karma we do, actions we do for good or evil, will be the heir of that. So we can't do anything about the past. And this one saying, to have done meritorious actions in the past. So this is something that it already begins. It already began. We're already in the middle of it. We can take precepts and from here forward, we can abide by precepts, we can take refuge, and from here forward, we can maintain refuge. But that past, and this is what was striking to me, because um, there isn't anything that we can do about that past except endure the conditions that we receive, and to, you know, associating with the wise, avoid those sorts of inclinations of the mind that we might have. We might have these crazy inclinations, and we think it's us. And so it's very easy to continue on that uneven road, on those non-meritorious actions. If we're born in a situation where we're born with not much merit. But I mean, the good news is that if you have this, you found the Dhamma, you have found refuge, you keep precepts, you do have merit. It takes enormous amount of merit to be with the Dhamma and to practice the Dhamma. So we may not have the merit of, you know, some of these millionaires, but if you watch some of these millionaires, they're very selfish and greedy, and think that they've, you know, they've done this on their own. They believe they are self-made millionaires. So they're totally ignorant of cause and effect, whereas we're not. And also, we've, you know, we're finishing Vasa right now, and on Tuesday, I think, is the full moon that marks the end of the rain season, the 3-month retreat where the Buddha asked the monastics to stay in one place. And this is a good marker for not having, you know, permanence. We're very marked with change. We can see this change in the months. We're in October. We're in October already. Um, and 3 months ago, we began the Vasa with, maybe we had, and I've heard it called Buddhist Lent. Maybe we had some aspiration for these 3 months, and we can check, you know, have we completed any of those intentions that we had at the beginning? I can tell you for sure I have not. I meant to, but, you know, so many things crop up, and this is it. This is what happens, is that we set our intentions, and then things happen that take us away from what we were doing, what we were thinking. But one of the phrases that monastics learn early on is, uh, the nights and days are relentlessly passing. How well am I spending my time? So we have this present moment, and this present moment is about to become the past. Actually, when I started that sentence, it's already gone. We're in another one. And this is viti patantiti. We just, you know, it doesn't stop. So we take advantage of these moments so that we can avoid fools, we can associate with the wise. And, you know, we're fortunate in this country, at least, that, you know, most of us can move if we haven't found the right location. Or we have the privilege of creating the right conditions for our practice. To have much learning, to be skillful in handicraft, well trained in discipline, and to be of good speech. In the Bhavana Vandana, it says, whatever utterance is well spoken. So right speech, to be truthful, to speak at the right time, to avoid harsh words, to avoid divisive speech. and to avoid Debbie speech. Just yucky, 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 yucky. To support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. So peaceful occupation would fall under right livelihood, a livelihood that allows you to keep your precepts, that you're not forced to work at a slaughterhouse or arms dealer. And some people are. And so we have to endure those things. If that happens, then we endure that until we can find another occupation, another means of support. But the Buddha also enjoined us to care for our parents because our parents have given us this precious opportunity of a human life. Even if, after we were born, they kicked us in the butt and told us to get out, it was still their doing that gave us this precious human life. Even monastics have this obligation, and actually in Florida right now, I'm caring for my mother, and she lives right over back there. This is a small farm, and she's got a little cottage back there. Um, so it's our obligation to care for our parents, to be generous in giving, to be righteous in conduct, to help one's relative, and to be blameless in action. This is the greatest blessing. So generosity and virtue were two of the first teachings the Buddha would give to any general audience, so that to prepare them, just the talk, just so that somebody has that inclination of generosity, someone has the inclination of virtue. Blameless in action doesn't doesn't come right away. We make mistakes. In Spanish, it's meter la pata. We put our foot in it, is the saying. But we intend, we make amends, we intend to improve, to become blameless in action, which is an arahant. This is the greatest blessing. To be respectful, humble, contented, grateful, to listen to the Dhamma on due occasions. This is the greatest blessing. So we're moving in a orderly fashion, more or less, toward higher mental qualities, the generosity, virtue, helping one's relatives. So these are the greatest blessings, meaning, if you're here at the first one, not to associate with the foolish, well, then you perfect that. Then you work with that. If that's where you're at, then you work with that. But then you don't ignore all the other ones, even if, we're not blameless in action in this moment, even if we've made a mess of things and we're trying to get out of them in this moment. We intend to lift ourselves up and to receive these blessings. You don't have to apply for these. This is our own moment to moment creation of a self, right? We create a self moment to moment. So moment to moment, you have that choice to choose, even though there's an uneven road, what the Buddha said in the Saleka Sutta, there's an uneven road and an even road but right beside it. And it really can be that simple to recognize, but it takes practice to get the mind going into that direction. To loathe more evil and abstain from it. in the Bhavana Vandana, it says, to cease and abstain from evil, complete restraint from intoxicants, to be diligent in virtuous practice. This is a supreme blessing. To be patient, obedient, the seeing of recluses, to discuss the Dhamma at the right time. This is the supreme blessing. So it often happens that we do have to develop virtue and generosity to get to meet recluses, which I would think is, monastics, teachers. We do have to have some sort of merit in that regard. So the sutta is going like, I don't know if you can call it higher or deeper, but either way, step by step, getting into, closer to the Dhamma. The Dhamma is everything. It's everything. But to hear the Dhamma, hear the teaching, then we do have to have that merit already. And this is something that we cultivate every day, moment by moment. I've missed the opportunity to be close to some masters due to my upbringing, the date of my birth. I missed, several masters, but I have that intention to perfect Sila, Samadhi, and Panya so that I can be one of those masters for others. So all of this intention is very, very engaged in your action. You're not separating what you hope for from what you're doing. And it's all onward leading, isn't it? Opanayiko, onward leading is the Dhamma. The next one, to be patient. Some of these kind of remind me of the Metta Sutta, don't they? The 16 qualities of the Metta Sutta. To be patient and obedient, to associate with monks, and to have religious discussions on due occasions. So we have our Uposatha days. We have we just passed last week Sangamita's Parinibbana when Dhammadharini had a special program. So these are occasions for all of us to get closer to the Dhamma, closer to the actual teaching and to the practice and to the monks and the nuns. Self-restraint, a holy and chaste life, the perception of the noble truths, and the realization of Nibbana. This is the greatest blessing. So we started with not associating with fools, and here we are penetrating into the noble truths and ourselves becoming noble ones. Stepwise, orderly, gradual, setting intention, and acting in accordance with those intentions. And every moment we have that opportunity to choose. But it's not like, you come off the street and you're aware that you have these moments that, that you can choose. It's very gradually training you in the practice of blessings so that we do have to practice and make an effort. It's not just about the wishing, even the wishing. Is it the Akankeya Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 6, maybe? There's 5 things. If you wish, if a bhikkhu would wish, to be dear and agreeable. So the 5 requisites for that wish to materialize, to be realized, would be keeping the precepts, meditating, possessing insight, dwelling in empty huts. And what is the other 5th one? Aya, do you remember the fifth one? Well, it's like having wisdom already, you know. So so you don't acquire those right off the bat. These are not beginning things. They're progressive. They're trainings. Even keeping the precepts, even keeping the five precepts in the beginning can be a challenge. And we can have all sorts of explanations and reasons why, one of them isn't right. It may have been right in the Buddhist time in ancient India, but we live in a different culture, a different time. We can make all sorts of excuses not to keep the precepts. And actually, in some Buddhist traditions, that's already, there's monks that are not celibate. There are monks that can drink alcohol. So little by little, what I'm told is that even though the Buddha, like for a monastic, 311 rules for a bhikkhuni, even though the Buddha told Ananda to let go of the minor and lesser rules, supposedly Ananda couldn't remember. The one with the photographic memory could not remember what those were. But what I've read is that the Arahants at that first Buddhist council thought, well, did anybody ever hear you give them an inch, they take a foot? Have you heard that saying? So this is sort of the rationale, is that if we let go of those lesser and minor rules, then, some of these more major rules will come under investigation and there'll be some sort of excuse for them. And there were, I mean, after the parinibbana of the Buddha, there was all sorts of schisms within, I mean, very shortly, I can't tell you exactly how many, like maybe 100 years. Even in the time of the Buddha, actually, there were monks that wanted to um, use money. And this was one of the arguments, I think, in Kosambi, that they wanted to ignore these rules. So very gradually, we can, if we set the intention, if we keep this as a practice, if we keep it moment to moment aware of these challenges in our culture that pull us away, then we can keep those precepts. This is an individual decision that our culture sort of wants to wash away. Virtue and generosity aren't often spoke about, are they? We don't hear about those. We have competition and the winner takes it all and spoils and the wars, and we don't have much of a conversation on virtue. So it may be very difficult for some people to keep those precepts at the beginning, but with practice, it becomes easier. And you get to this point, you know, perception of the noble truths and the realization of the nibbana. This is for here. This is sanditiko, here and now. This is not, you know, some myth. It's not a story. This is here and now. A mind, I don't like that translation. A mind unshaken when touched by the worldly states, sorrowless, stainless, secure. This is the supreme blessing. So I think we all want that, don't we? A mind that is unshaken when touched by the worldly states, the worldly winds, praise and blame, gain and loss, fame and ill repute, pleasure and pain. We're just all like in the spin cycle with all of these. We notice these. I mean, notice your in Vedana, in your feeling tone, how we go from one of these to the other, and no time flat. Everything's going good. Oh, something happened, and here we are, in the opposite extreme. So who does not want this? But if it's just all about wanting, then we would all be arahants. It's not all about our just wanting. It's about actual working toward these, making them your goal in life. And it's the most precious use of a human life. There's nothing higher for a human life than to obtain to these sublime, noble states where you're through with the spin cycle. You're through with, the blind leading the blind. You can be the one that lifts someone else out of the mud. Once you yourself have made the effort to come up above the mud. Those who have fulfilled all these are everywhere invincible. They find well-being everywhere. Theirs is the blessing supreme. And, the thing is that it's not that you've moved. It's not that you have a job where your superiors or your employees respect you. Your students, suddenly respect you. It's not that, you've moved to a place where everyone in the neighborhood is quiet and peaceful. We're not speaking about the external world. What we're speaking about is this gradual change, the perfection of virtue, the purification. This is a path of purification, the Visuddhimagga. So it's inside, it's an internal change. And what happens with that internal change is that your view of the external is unruffled. You might still get a broken leg, you might still get a heart attack. Um, we're not speaking that the external world is cured. And I mentioned this, it might seem like it's, a no-brainer for all of you, but it was quite a shock to me to find out that arhants still have pain. Things still happen, that Mahamoggallana was beat to a pulp. Every bone in his body was broken. As the Buddha's right-hand disciple, one of the Buddha's right-hand disciples, supreme in psychic power, he got the crap beat out of him. He was murdered. So we're not speaking about the external world. But I think in that story, Mahamoggallana was able to crawl to the Buddha to pay his final respects. So, what does it matter if he was beaten to a pulp? He was out of here. And while he was here, he helped many, many, many people also attain to some of these states. And the ones that didn't, you know, reach Arhat, the ones that didn't get to those invincible, are still able, with the purification of virtue, still able to minimize samsara by an infinitesimal amount of existences. And it's really simple. This is life's instruction book right here. If you have one that you can carry around in your pocket, this one and the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. This is my recommendation for you. But it's this simple. It's this simple and it's this direct. It's like you get into the car, you set the GPS to New York City or wherever, and you go there. You pass a lot of stuff, but you're not going to stop. I mean, if you stop, you're not going to get there. Your car might break down, but you get it fixed in due time. And you keep going until you get to your goal. It is like that. So, but meanwhile, the nights and days are relentlessly passing. It's all it's all over with. I mean, the beginning of this sutta, I started 30 minutes ago. We're finished with it. Hopefully with some understanding. Things change, things are constantly in flux. This is both our opportunity and our nemesis. We can take advantage of change. I mean, if there were no change, this would be not possible. If there weren't anicca, none of this would be possible. It would be like those Brahmins of old in the time of the Buddha that, they were born Brahmins from the mouth of Brahma. They could do whatever. That was their thought, their belief. But because we have change, because we have anicca and viparinama dhamma, um, these moment-to-moment opportunities, this which is that conventional self, right? I mean, the Buddha says there's no self in the khandhas, but he didn't say there's no self. There is this moment-to-moment self, what we're creating and what we've created. Sadly enough, for some of us, we've created, in Spanish, it would be rice with mango, which is supposed to be, a mess. But I hear it's a dessert in Japan or something like that. But for Cubans, it's a mess. So we've done all that, right? But change is possible. Anicca, viparinama dhamma. So we take the opportunity every moment to reaffirm our intention. I mean, and this is every moment. And when you're meditating, when you're developing your mental acuity, then you can see moment to moment. And it's like seeing in slow motion. And you can make a difference with every one of those moments. I don't know how many of them happen in 1 second. But in 1 second, you have, I don't know how many opportunities. And if you miss those, there's another second coming, hopefully, you know? But there's also the nights and days are relentlessly passing. So we don't dawdle too much. We smell the flowers. I mean, if you're a layperson, you can smell the flowers. You can take the scenic route, but you keep practicing. If you're a monastic, then you're supposedly on the superhighway, which is much harder. So I want to stop here because I've run out of things to say. This was a short sutta. Um, but I have been reminded that the Day of the Dead, at least the Aztec Day of the Dead, which is called Mitu, hold on. Is today. I mean, that's what Mictlan, which in the Aztec belief, most people that when they passed away, they would go to this underworld where their strife would continue. And that's not actually that far from what the Buddha said. The Buddha said most people that pass away from the human realm are not born, do not take the next existence in the human realm. They don't take the next existence in the Deva realm. Most persons that pass away from the human realm are reborn in the lower realms. So remember that first part, not associating with fools? You got to be really, really careful. They may not know that they're a fool, but you might know. And you might know with that sort of action of speech or mind, or even if you can understand their thinking, where that leads, right? But anyway, today is an ancient Mictlan, which is the Aztec underworld, and it took like 4 years to get through like some pretty torturous things. Not everyone, the belief wasn't that everybody took rebirth in this lower world, but a majority of people. And we're also coming up against Halloween and the Day of the Dead and All Souls Day, All Saints Day. These are in so many different cultures. We have this reverence to our ancestors. We have these beliefs in what happens after one dies, there has a physical death. And the Buddha also explained these things. So we have a lot of impetus to practice, to not allow for the days to fly by while we consider, we think about practicing. We have this obligation to ourselves. Only we can, only we can help ourselves. You listen to the Dhamma, but the teachers can't, you know, we can't even drag you. I mean, I think it's against the rules anyway to drag you, right? I mean, that would be painful and we wouldn't want to do that. But even if we could drag you, we can't. We can only give the instruction and then it's up to you. So all of these belief systems believe in some not very pleasant. And the Buddha also told us, you know, not very pleasant. So how can you tell where you might go? I mean, I haven't read this anywhere, but I mean, this is my thought on this. And you haven't asked, but I'm going to say it anyway because I have a few minutes. So this moment to moment rebirth that's going on constantly, right? I mean, you can see from the time that you've sat down here in front of the screen, how many thoughts have gone through, how many inclinations, how many judgments and criticisms. Yeah. Um, so this is what I'm talking about, moment to moment. This is what it is. It's not a occult science. It's not a mystery. It's like, this is it. So at the moment of death, the physical death, this continues. So whatever it was, however you've been training yourself, this is why it's so important. However you've been training yourself is that destination, unless there's like some major event at that very moment. But all of this is going on. This is moment to moment rebirth. It's not anything else. And this is how you know. Because as you practice, as you begin with this Mahamangala Sutta and you go through these stepwise, orderly, gradual progress, you will see that blah, 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 blah. Slow down. Be more attentive. Be more alert progressively so that these moment to moment to moment to moment rebirths, as in the Paticca Samuppada, are visible so that you can choose the even road because you understand the uneven road. So, I mean, that's what it is, according to Marajina. I think it's a pretty good theory. I think, it can give you a run for your money. Try it out. Let me know how it works. And so now we open for questions. Oh, it's 444. Perfect. The number of the Sangha.
So everyone welcome for a question or any comments? If there's no one, me first. This morning I was leading the Metta Bhavana. So during Ayya's guidance, I said about between ourselves and the people outside, the world outside. So we spread the metta. Then I was thinking about that, then flashed to my mind. Because yesterday we had a meeting with a Vasa sponsor, planning for the Katina event. And then we were talking about the special guests, Bhikkhuni Ayya are coming. Ayya Marajina, one of them, Ayya Santa Chitta, Ayya Sobana. And then we're thinking about accommodation in AB. We need to build more tents for that because of the limit of the kuti. Then it flashed to my mind that, need to give special care for Ayya, as Ayya are more aging than us, like sometime on the movement, in the heritage. Then I was thinking, Ayya Marajina is here, Ayya Subhana will be here. Ayya Marajina had a knee pain, and someone have both knee pains. Then when I was the guidance about the metta, then oh, if I would like the Chula Pantaka have the psychic power, he can turn into thousand of him, then can can do for many. Then I'm thinking, oh, I'm Margina knee pain, and someone also knee pain. So how can I solve both together at the same time? So yeah, when you said about metta to the people around us, then it just flashed my mind about this thing. If I'm Chula Pantaka, then I can solve this one.
You know what? That reminds me of Aya. It reminds me of Venerable Kachayana at the retreat that day, where they were talking about a friend of theirs was going through a really hard time, and they thought of some um, a television show where the character does some sort of protection with fire, and so nothing can
Yes, yes.
and that led to a wonderful meta experience, right? It just opened everything up. And so you're thinking of Chulapantaka and go with that. Go with it. Beautiful.
It
Sadhu.
just came flash the mind because of the sutta that we studied before a few years ago. And this morning, the Metta Bhavana, it's efficient for me. Like I enjoying that with the guidance. Yeah. Even like hosting here, then I have a chance to practice as well, to learn together with everyone.
Sadhu.
Thanks for that. Okay, now it's your turn. Anyone? If you have any question, Daniel, please.
So, so go ahead, Daniel.
No, you sure?
Yes, I was just going to say for the questions that anyone had in the morning that weren't asked. So yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I really appreciated what you said in our earlier meditation session about one of your teachers, one of your masters, and their experience in roughly 2011, 2012, with they were thinking of, I think I'm going to give up this meditation training because of social media's impact. And I think that's really important kind of to acknowledge. I think of when I meditate, if I'm going to be distracted, I'm going to be thinking about TV. My brain is going to call up images from whatever I watched on TV. And it was roughly 10, 11 years ago that I deleted my Facebook account. And every year I'm kind of reminded why that was a good decision. And so I really resonate with that. And I think, especially for people maybe who consume a lot of social media, and certainly I consume probably more TV than I should, it can be so beneficial to take a break. And I noticed changes very rapidly. And it's like anything, maybe the first week is hard. And then after that, you really notice shifts. And I'm so glad I did that now. And anyway, I just really resonated with what you said about that.
I do. Yes, it really convolutes our mind. We get all twisted up with it's like just subject to subject to subject. There's no continuity, so it decreases our attention span. And what I've read that children these days, they don't read books that much, and books, at least you remain with a storyline for a certain amount of time. But with social media or games, it's just constant change, 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 change. So your attention span, which is something that we need to hold on to our meditation object, is depleted. And we have to, but fortunately we can build that back up. Yes.
Anyone? I found that I haven't too accomplished my adhitthana for the Vasa. I got two. One is stay in the forest, overcome the fear. Another one is memorize the Pali Patimokkha. So the first has achieved, but the second do not have sufficient time for that.
My adhitthana was to translate a couple of books into Spanish, and I didn't even begin the first one. But I did other things. So I'm not sure that, the adhitthana was very well informed. I don't think it was possibly realistic. I keep thinking that I have like an isolation booth, like I'm isolated and so I can focus. And it's not true. I have several communities that rely on me and I mean, the Dhamma teaching or sharing the Dhamma brings me a lot of joy.
Yes.
So I think my adhitthana was just not a very realistic one. Hopefully, there's another opportunity next Vasa that.
Need to wait until next Vasa, yeah?
I don't have to wait till next.
You know the schedule upcoming already. That will be.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing.
Hello, Satina.
Hi. Oh, there's a little bit of echo. Oh, okay, great. Hello, everybody. Hi. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for choosing this sutta. I appreciate everything you shared on it. It's really nice that you talk about a sutta that I feel like is regularly or semi-regularly chanted, and giving that time to really talk about it, not only chant it. So I really appreciate you choosing it. I really appreciate the part where you mentioned that it's like a practical handbook to approaching life. It's things that we can do in the here and now that we should do. And that's the way we can think about what we're doing and how to keep doing it. I think the part for me that's really standing out, the present moment, just so everyone knows, I'm here at the monastery, but I've been at the monastery for pretty much 2 months, and tomorrow will be my last day because it was my adhitthana to spend the Vasa with the Sangha. And so I got to spend it 1 month at a Baigiri and then 2 months here. And so the part where we talked about being near the monastics or being at a suitable place, really, I think is really coalescing for me as I come to the end of that time here, and really rejoicing, I suppose, in my own merits that it wasn't very hard for me to find a monastery when I was looking for one. I just Googled it. I was like, oh, it's 45 minutes from my house. I can just
Wow.
go. And I mean, not only, the desire to go, but the right conditions to allow me to go. So that's kind of something that's coming up for me regarding the sutta. Thank you very
Sadhu,
much.
sadhu. Well, thank you so much for serving the Bhikkhuni Sangha and the Bhikkhu Sangha, and being so close. I mean, you can come back. Um, I think that it was, at least for me, it was a very pleasurable experience to meet you and have such a personality that's upbeat and positive, this, in the midst of what I know is a lot of work. It's a hectic schedule. There's a lot of monastics there, this Vasa. So sadhu, 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 dedicate your merit. And yes, that is a sign of having good deeds done, that you have no problem whatsoever having located the monasteries for your aditana. Sadhu.
So we here have one question from Anagarika Lochana.
Hello, Anagarika Lochana. How are you?
Good to see you. I have a question. You were speaking about, human beings being reborn in lower realms, and when we do dana, we do study the Dhamma or meditate or give dana, we do good meritorious action, and we share the merits with our, departed relatives or all beings. And I was wondering, how does that benefit them, like them being there are the result of their karma, and how does sharing merits benefit them exactly? Does it improve their life, or does it bring them out of that realm unless they're finished that fruit of karma, or do they have a comfortable life? I'm just wondering if it's known how they benefit from that.
Well, I vaguely remember a sutta, and somebody can jump in and point me in the right direction, where the Buddha was asked that about not about dedicating merit, but about eh, offering of our food or our robes when we give dana, offering that to our departed relatives. That what I remember from the sutta is that as soon as that, say, the dish of food was the merit was dedicated for the departed relatives, dishes of food appeared where they were. And what we're transferring really is joy. We're not like, oh my gosh, that was so hard. I'm gonna, dedicate to my ancestors. I never want to do that again. That's not the right mental attitude. The right mental attitude is that I have this precious opportunity to offer robes to the Sangha. I'm getting chills just saying this, and I can't offer robes to the Sangha. But so that offering should bring so much joy, and that joy transfers. And according to the Buddha, in the sutta, actually, they receive robes to offer as well. They receive food to partake and to offer as well. So it's um, a way for them to, yes, leave. At least this was the ghost realm, I believe, that he was speaking of, the hungry ghost realm. It offers that way for them to elevate, to enter a heavenly realm. And I'm going to have to get back with you if nobody knows what sutta I'm talking about, because it is in one of the Nikayas. So yes, and always with a joyful mind we dedicate, and always with a joyful mind we offer, so that our departed ancestors who are in the ghost realm. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the lower realms of the animal and the hell realms. This was actually for the hungry ghost realm.
Thank you, Ayya.
Thank you. Nobody knows that sutta I'm speaking of?
Doesn't come to my mind at the moment, Ayya.
Yeah, it'll come to my mind as soon as we're off the call.
We can continue in the coming meeting again. Yeah. Okay, we still have 30 minutes to go. The afternoon sutta session is 1 to 2:30.
Satina
Yeah.
mentioned what Venerable Kachayana was speaking of
Yeah.
a day-long retreat with Zena the warrior princess. So even Zena the warrior princess can affect your practice in very beneficial ways. Anything can. Anything skillful can. Let's see. Janaki, did I pronounce that correctly? Janaki says, Dear Ayya, it is not only children, but adults too do not read books. Reading books is a bhavana too. Yes. Actually memorizing chants is very good bhavana, because then you spend some part of your day, instead of in this mindless, endless chatter, you're actually chanting. You're actually paying homage to the Buddha, remembering the qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. You can do all sorts of memory training, mind training with books and with suttas and chanting.
Here we have Dov here. Would like to ask a question?
Hi, Doug.
And thank you. I this morning when I was meditating, like the thoughts and things that come, like I can let them go, and I know that there's a goal maybe or a point where you can kind of see them coming, like a ship, rather than being partly down the road and then going, oh wait, and I can do that, and I can get myself out of a thought and release it fairly consistently, but I have a problem with music in my head constantly. And it's like the pink elephant problem. It's like, is it still there? It's like, of course it is, because you just thought about it. But that's just something that I was struggling with this morning when we were doing meditations. And that's all I wanted to say.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why chanting sticks with us so well. Sometimes I've had to enter stores like with my mother, and they have this music on, and it's 80s music, and that was like when I was a, teenager growing up and young adult, and so I know all those songs, and if I'm not very careful, I mean I do try to restrain now, instead of like just letting it carry me away, because it seems like that is a common problem. Sound is something that we don't pay as much attention to as vision as humans, but sound is a huge impediment, and you can see that it just kind of burrows in the brain, and it's just there. So what I had to do to get out of some of those silly uh, songs is really, what the Buddha says is like clench your jaw and push your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and strive. And once breaking free from that, restrain very, very diligently. because that's one of my weaknesses also. Not so much anymore. Okay.
Yeah, I would like to ask, there are people that like when they start to learn Buddhism, and every time whenever they listen to the Dhamma, they fall into sleep. So is that like kind of a karma for that? All the time when they start listening to Dhamma, they fall into sleep. They just can't help themselves.
I think there's probably a lot of different reasons for that. You know, that was one of the questions that arose in my very first class this morning, which was the class before the Dhammadharini meditation class was, you know, listening to the Dhamma, I fall asleep, or trying to meditate, I fall asleep. And so the first thing you check is, are you getting enough rest? You know, is your body okay? Are you taking care of yourself? And then I think that there is some karma there that even advanced practitioners, this can happen to. So I think this is maybe a karmic uh, karma vipaka, karmic fruition, that there's this confidence, you know, and this tranquility. And rather than maintaining a state of alertness, we're confident. We just, you know, go go in, you know, and just allow that. Somebody that's not confident, somebody that's um, very hyper alert won't do that. They'll have other stuff, you know, they'll have the racing thoughts or the restlessness, or, you know, did I check my email, or things like that. So that's actually um, a hindrance, but it can manifest in a lot of different levels. So I would suggest to these people, stand up, do walking meditation interspersed with sitting meditation. Um, when I was doing a lot more meditation than what I'm able to do now, I had to intersperse walking and chanting,
No.
because I would just like, you know, get get very relaxed and tranquil and peaceful, and I'm out of there. So interspersing all those things. But yeah, I think it's karmic to a certain extent.
It was happened like before I ordained. So I worked together with volunteers, the many volunteers. Then during the volunteer time, everyone are very active. But once come to the listen to the Dhamma, the recording from the teacher, then they fall into sleep. They say, we really can't help. Just happen. When the Dhamma talk finish, they wake up. They are so energetic. They say, is it our karma? They were asking about that. But different people are different. Some other people are so delighted in listening to the Dhamma, never fall into sleep. Like a more, you know, clear mind and rejoice listening to Dhamma. Yeah, I think Chris have a question. Yes, Chris, please. Can you unmute yourself, please?
It's at the bottom.
Thank you, Ayya.
Okay.
Thank you for this talk today. I'm always really inspired by your Dhamma talks. You mentioned earlier at the beginning there was another sutta that was similar to the one we went over today, that you would recommend. I guess if you had to give two, I don't remember what the context was, but do you what number was it, so I can look it up, please?
Well, it's the Anatalakkhana Sutta.
Right.
Um,
And Akankeya Sutta.
and I mentioned the Akankeya Sutta. The Akankeya Sutta is Majjhima Nikaya 6. The Anatalakkhana Sutta, somebody help me. I mean, it's Samyutta Nikaya? I'll look it up real quick. And it's a sutta that I used to carry around with me everywhere, all the time. For years, I carried around, and I can't remember where. Samyutta Nikaya 22.59. It's the
Thank you
Buddhist
very much.
teaching, not self. So it has some resonance with what we were talking today about. Did I talk today about not a self in the khandhas? Or that was my first class.
Yes, you mentioned just now.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's a good one, Crystal. Crystal is local here. She was in the class yesterday, and she's come to Bhava Nirodha Nilaya. I think she's the only local one. Hi, Ananea.
Richard have a question here. Are you
Oh,
Richard?
oh, Richard. Okay.
Oh, Anaya first or Richard first?
I don't know who was first.
Who's first? Sorry, Richard first. Okay,
Richard.
please,
Anaya,
Richard.
Unmute yourself, Richard.
I was saying the other person can go first. It's not.
Okay, Ananea. You can unmute your audio.
I'm not sure my comment is more relevant than Richard's, but as far as suttas to keep in mind or to visit frequently, I agree about the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, but also for general well-being is the Ratana Sutta.
Mm.
And if you have yourself or a family member or someone, a dear one that is having difficulties or illness or whatever, the Ratana Sutta is a good one to acquaint yourself with. And now, of course, I don't remember the number. I believe that one though is I think it's Majjhima Nikaya. Richard, do you remember for the Ratana Sutta? Well, it's easy. It's Ratana for those, you can easily look that one up. It's quite a well-known sutta. But one of the things I was going to say, I guess maybe by way of encouragement, is that number one is to continue doing what you're doing today, which is to avail yourselves of Dhamma talks with teachers when they're presented, especially live ones, and to keep things ongoing. And if you have occasion, if you can see yourself, say within 6 months or a year, to go on a retreat that's, a longer retreat than a weekend, if you can, like at least 7 days, 10 days, or whatever you can manage. And one can really make some good progress in those longer retreats because you don't have the distractions that you have in your day-to-day world. And it's an ideal setting and a safe setting for you to explore Dhamma in a deeper capacity. So anyway, and this sutta too, I mean, the Mangala Sutta is on some levels, it looks like, oh, it's just like a nice, easy thing, just read that and keep it in mind. But if you really ponder each piece of that, these are the core things of Dhamma to keep in mind, core principles. So it's like you can't look at them or think about them too often, would be my other suggestion. So thank you.
Sad. Richard.
Richard, please.
I'm sorry, something happened to my computer. I was having a problem. It just froze. Finally it just unfroze. I was just going to make a point. There's a sutta with Mahanama. There's two suttas actually, and I was going to look them up exactly, but then my computer froze, so I didn't get a chance. You mentioned earlier that you're not exactly sure, if I'm quoting you correctly, how a person takes rebirth. And in the sutta, Mahanama comes to the Buddha and he says, I come to you and we discussed the Dharma, and I'm very enthused about the Dharma. And then when I'm leaving and going back home, maybe there's a wild bull or a wild elephant or wild horse, and it scares me. So it takes me out of that blissful frame of mind about the Dharma into like fear. And it makes me think, well, what would happen if I died at that point? You know, like the bull killed him, or the horse killed him, or the elephant killed him, or something. You know, what would be my destination? And Buddha says, don't worry, Mahanama, your destination won't be a bad one. He says, wherever the mind is generally inclining to, that's where you're going to go. It's not the specific thought at the time of death, it's the overall inclination of mind. And he gives an example. He says, you know, if you took a pot of ghee to the bottom of a body of water and you broke it, so the broken pot, that's the body, but then the ghee would automatically rise up no matter what you did. You can't stop it because its tendency is to be at a higher position. And he also gives another example in the second sutra of, if you had a tree that was growing, constantly blown by the wind, it would grow like at an angle. So no matter how you cut it down, it's going to fall in that direction. It's not going to fall the opposite direction. It's not possible. So you've already set your mind in a certain direction, angularly wise. And so regardless of exactly how you die, even if you have some stray thought or something, or caused by fear or some other circumstance, it's your overall state of mind. And there's another sutta, which I didn't have time to look up, where the Buddha says, according to your state of mind, that's how you go to your next birth. Not your thought, but your overall state of mind. He says it's as if two strong men pick you up and take you there and, you know, deposit you. You know, so according to your overall state of mind, you know, that's what directs you to your rebirths. Anyways, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Richard. Just to continue along that and maybe present another scenario. For animals, continuing along that state of mind, it is very hard for a being to break from the animal realm to, say, the human realm. So what can happen, and again, I haven't read this, is that, say, take a deer. Deer are very beautiful, but actually their life is full of fear. They're constantly on alert. They're hyper alert. And they're herd animals. So one animal freaks out, and they all freak out. So it's very difficult to break out of the deer realm. But take this scenario. So this is their constant state of mind, is fearful. So there's this beautiful buck, right? With the antlers, what some people in the hunting world would say is a rack that they would want to put on their wall, which is a very disgusting practice if you think about it. So there's this deer, and then the Buddha talks about, you know, these things, that hunters set snares, and so this deer is very careful. But say there's a drought. And so even though this deer is generally secluded and isolated and well hidden in their forest, they're impelled by hunger to come out of the forest. And so they choose their time thinking, well, the hunters know deer are crepuscular, so I won't go out dawn, or I won't go out dusk. I'll go out in the middle of the day. So the deer is being very careful. And then, sadly enough, there's some hunters setting up their hunting thing and sees this enormous deer with these horns and say, I want that on my wall. So he takes out his rifle. The deer hears it and starts running, right? Fear, much, much fear. Running so fast, and then that deer sees the entrance to his forest, And he knows he's going to be safe there. And so he's very close. He's running very fast. His heart is beating, 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 beating. And he gets to that entrance and he leaps. And at the same time that he leaps, he hears that crack of the rifle. But the deer thought he was safe. That was his home. He was going to get away. So joy came up. So joy would take that being up. If it were speaking to Mahanama, yes, don't be afraid, Mahanama, your death will not be a bad one. Speaking to a deer who has this habitual state of mind of fear, that can't apply. And so this is how these final moments of mind, when they're extraordinary, meaning that they're not the same old sort of thinking, when they're extraordinary, they will take you up or conversely take you down. So I have not read that anywhere, but it seems to me that that's how that works.
So it seems like it's good that all the time keep a good state of mind, but it also depends on the condition that arise, right?
Yes. And just, a practice so that you break through to the other shore, even momentarily, The Anguttara Nikaya, Book of Fours, I think it's Sutta number 7, gives this 7 types of beings. And in the first one is a being that lives in darkness, stays in darkness. I think it was beings in water. I think it's what it's called. So underwater, stays underwater. Then the second type of being is that rises up and says, well, this is good. I should be virtuous and, and generous. But then goes back down, doesn't stay there. Then there's a third type of being that raises up, says, good is virtue, good is generosity. I'll keep doing this. And they keep doing that, but they stay there. They don't progress. They neither fall back down nor continue to progress. The fourth type of being is the one that comes up out of the water and says, good is virtue, good is generosity, good is all these things, and then continues and sees. This fourth type of person rises up out of the water and sees. This is how it's described. What does this person see? The other shore. So the fifth type, this is Sotapanna. The fifth type of person rises up, good is virtue, good is generosity, rises up, sees and crosses, Sakadagami, but not stable. Sixth type of person rises up, good is virtue, good is generosity. I'm going to keep practicing, sees, crosses over, and stands there. Anagami. And so the seventh type of person, same. So we're constantly raising up, making this, raising up, crossing over, and then throwing that raft away, throwing whatever, just arhant.
And I found that it is will be a good motivation. For example, like this habitual thinking. In a normal day, when there are things that agitate us, right? And if you take a moment, think about what if there's same situation, same condition that arise, and my dad bad, and I'm agitated by it habitually, and then will carry us to a lower realm. So by that would motivate us be like, I have to overcome that now. by the practice rather than it might arise again at the last moment. That's danger. Sometimes we are lazy in a mental state. We're just, okay, a small thing, like habitually, it's fine, but like get the encouragement and motivation for oneself. I need to overcome this a bit by little. Yeah.
With effort, yes, with effort. Just you keep running up against the same thing, the same thing, and you keep doing, you keep progressing, you keep making your effort, and eventually it works. It's repetition and setting that intention, and we have all these suttas, and something like the Mangala Sutta, which is just something so simple that can keep us focused, and even when these things come up in the mind and you know it, that's good. I mean, how many people this comes up in the mind and they don't know what's going on, they don't see it. But yeah, we have to continuously put our right effort into this.
Thank you, Ayya. I think this is come to the end of the session. But before we leave, I would need to make some announcement here for Dhammadharini. The first announcement will be in a couple of days. There's the end of the Vasa with a Mahaparana day. So the Bhikkhuni will have a Parana within the Bhikkhuni Sangha, and then the next day we will invite the Bhikkhu for our Parana. And for the Katina day, after the end of the Vasa, there will be at Aranya Bodhi Hermitage, Jenner, on 18 October, that is Saturday, 10 morning up to 4 p.m. And in the December, in conjunction to Sanghamita Day, Dhammadharani Monastery would like to offer a program, but on request, at least one more final time for those who wish to be able to see the sacred relics of Arahanteri Sanghamita and Arahanteri Anulatisa, also to meditate in their presence. The location will be at Dhammadharani Monastery. And then we also have a plan for a very special, important in-person benefit program that is at Dharma College on the 1st and 2nd November, will be in the weekend. So when close come to the date, then we will announce again more detail. Thank you, everyone. And especially thanks so much, I appreciate and respectfully are honored by your presence for your teaching and guidance in this Sutta study session.
Thank you.
Forward to invite Ayya again.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu. May everyone have a good day and growth in the Dhamma and rejoice in that always. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Dedicate your merit to your ancestors.
Yes, important.
Thank you, Ayya.
Forget them.
Thank you.